Alright. It is with extreme pleasure to be here once again to hold this mic. Since you're all standing, please turn to Matthew 27, verse 1. Matthew 27, verse 1. Alright. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. So they bound him, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate, the governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders. I have sinned, he said, for I have betrayed innocent blood. What is this to us? They replied, that's your responsibility. So Judas threw the money into the temple and left. Then he went away and hanged himself. C'est que on a cielo, nous te merci pour l'opportunité ça que vous nous c'est pour me camper devant peuple pour me parler pour. C'est moi connaître c'est une opportunité qui vous c'est moi te merci parce que vous avez choisi moi-même pour inspirer mon ça. C'est moi de papa, à qui c'est moi-même qui parle, mais s'il vous plaît. Utilisez-moi pour moi-même sortir dans mes cieux. Papa, je dis merci encore pour Jésus qui a été envoyé sur le bâtiment pour témoigner pour moi. C'est une opportunité ça. C'est un prière comme ça, ça passe comme un bon. Maintenant, Jésus, une prière qui fait le possible. Amen. Maybe see it. Thank you. Good morning. It is an extraordinary pleasure, with extraordinary pleasure, to be here. I remember the last time I was here was right before the Corona started, and after that I never stepped foot in the church. So this is the first time I'm actually stepping foot in the church, and feels great. It feels great to be back. I'm thankful and blessed unto God, the Creator, for this amazing opportunity that He has favored me with, to be able to hold this mic and bring forth His Word. It is not a matter that I take lightly. I take great pride. Whenever I'm about to speak the next day, I really barely get any sleep because of the excitement, or I guess it's the nervousness. So, in no way, shape, or form do I take this opportunity lightly at all. On behalf of our pastors, I'm not sure the name, I'm not too good with the names, but on behalf of Destiny Youth and the Youth Committee, I would like to thank our pastors, our deacons, and the whole board of committee as a whole. In the book we just read from, Matthew 27, it tells us basically, plain and simple, the betrayal of Jesus by Judas. Okay? From the passage elicits our topic for this morning: stand on God's reality. Okay? Stand on God's reality. In other words, let God's reality be the foundation on which you stand. In other words, with everything you got going on, God's reality should be top priority because it's non-negotiable. Moreover, in that same text, if we break it in half, it gives us 2 points, 2 main points to take really into consideration. Number one, stand on God's reality. Number two, go within. Okay? Stand on God's reality and go within. In the Gospel of Matthew, from which I've just read, it simply tells us that the man named Judas, who betrayed Jesus, kills himself. Plain and simple. He betrayed him, felt bad, and he hanged himself. After he'd seen what he had done, he couldn't bear to carry the burden, so he went ahead and took his own life. Judas Iscariot, I believe is the correct term or his full name, is considered one of the most infamous characters in the Bible. One of the most infamous characters in the Bible. Mainly because he was the one that betrayed and sold Jesus to the chief priests for 30 pieces of silver to be crucified. Right? So therefore, Judas is considered one of the most infamous characters in the Bible because he was on the opposite side of history when history was being made. Judas, although being one of Jesus' disciples and having this extraordinary opportunity to have walked with Jesus side by side, he had a thing for Jesus Christ. Judas had came to the point where he could not stand Christ anymore, could not stand Jesus anymore. He's basically had enough. And John 12, verse 3 through 6, it backs this theory by stating, after Mary took about a pound of pure nard, or spikenard, a very expensive perfume, and poured it onto Jesus' feet, Judas took offense to it, and he objected. Wait, hold on now. Why would you do that? Right? Why would you take a very expensive perfume and basically waste it? Why wasn't this perfume sold and give the money to the poor instead? Right? That's a very reasonable statement to make. Right? Judas said that right there was a year's worth of wages. Right? I guess back in the days, a year's worth of wages was a lot of money. Furthermore, the Bible continues to say he did not say this because he cared about the poor. Why? Because Judas himself was a thief. Right? Mind you, Judas was the one who kept the money bag. And therefore, from time to time, he would dig in and help himself out. Right? So, meaning Judas was already a snake, in modern term, if we would use that. Judas was already a snake. Okay? But, as bad as a man Judas seems, how did he become a disciple? Right? How did he become a disciple? Well, the Bible makes it crystal clear. The disciples were indeed chosen by Jesus Christ himself. Chose who he wanted to walk with. Right? Which only leads to say He knew who they were even before he chose them, right? That goes without saying. Jesus knew Judas way before he chose him. He was well aware of his characteristics. He was well aware of who Judas was personally, right? Reason being, Judas played a very important role in what was to come. In hindsight, you can say Judas did me and you a favor. In hindsight. Why? Because prophecy had to be fulfilled. Mind you, we're talking about God's reality, right? During that time, God's reality was in play. You know? Although they could see what was going on, but there was a bigger plan. Okay, there was a bigger plan. In Luke 22, verse 3, it suggests that Satan had entered and possessed Judas. But given the man Judas was, in his characteristic, he had already set himself up for failure. Judas had left a window open where Satan could creep in and consume him and make him do what he did. But mind you, Judas had already had this in mind, right? 1 Peter 5, verse 8 says, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." In that case, it was Judas, right? See, if we go back, even back to the garden, it tells us exactly why it was the serpent that was chosen. In Genesis 3, it gives the characteristics of the serpent, that he was a trickster. He was a creature of great deception, right? Out of all the wild beasts, he was the most cunning and craftiest out of all the animals in the garden. So keep in mind, that was I was already there. Okay? That was how he was, that's his personality, and therefore this is why he was consumed to carry out that mission. So Judas, being the snake that he was already who he was prior when the devil came into him and basically helped him carry out his mission. At the end of the day, like my pastor always say in our church, there's no excuse. At the end of the day, there was never an excuse. I asked him a question, who do you think is responsible if we don't know what God wants from us? At the end of the day, you are, plain and simple. So Judas is responsible for what happened. Although the devil had entered him, he left that door open. Okay? Satan saw the perfect opportunity and he seized it. He entered Judas to utilize him for his mission. For Judas, mind you, that was his reality. To carry out the mission way before Satan had entered him to carry out his own mission. That was his reality, right? That is until reality set in. Okay? Not to be rude, but I just want to say 2020 is the best time to be alive. It's a beautiful time, and it's a marvelous time to be alive. I don't want to offend you if you've lost someone to COVID-19. There's a reason why I say that. Okay? Remember, I'll explain later. Remember, earlier, as I mentioned, God's reality is non-negotiable. His reality will and must always come before yours and mine. Right? This is just a fact. This is just a fact. There's no way around it. Now, present day, leaving Judas alone, present day, around the same time last year, if I were to ask you or anyone in this room, what were you doing last year? Right? What were you thinking? What was your thought process? I believe mostly everybody would say you were getting ready to welcome in 2020, right? We were excited, okay? It was just something about 2020 that just made the whole world excited. It was the whole world. It was just something about it. People were posting 2020 vision, you know, this is it. See, people couldn't wait because 2019 had came with so much blood that we just wanted to fresh start. Okay, we wanted to escape that reality. This was going to be your year, you say. In fact, you couldn't wait anymore. 2020 could not have gotten here any faster than it did, right? It couldn't. If you were not posting about it, you were making plans. If you were not making plans, you were thinking about it. But for certain, you were going to live out your reality nonetheless. No one was going to stand in your way in achieving that reality. That reality could have been to buy a car, to get married, to have a baby, to travel, to go see fam. Right? That could have been your reality. Right? And you couldn't wait. I know I did. I wanted to go to the Virgin Islands. You know, like, 2020, I gotta do it. Because I haven't been anywhere. I gotta do it. Right? My reality. Right? But, look what happened. There's something called reality set in, right? Reality set in. There's a saying that goes, men plans and God laughs, right? All those plans we were making in 2019 are just gone into shambles. Look what happened, right? Furthermore, when I was in the Bahamas, growing up in the Bahamas, young boy, and people who came from foreign would come and tell me how foreign was like. It's like, bro, you gotta go, with an accent. Boy, I ain't lying, but you gotta slide, boy. Y'all's in out there, boy. Boy, y'all's in the heart, boy. Tell you saying? The way they made it seem like milk and honey was flowing like water here. Money was flying or coming from the trees, the sky. See, Dad, I'm not standing here, man. There's nothing here. I want to go foreign, okay? You want to go foreign? Pay the guy $5,000, jump on the boat, go. Came here illegally, of course. Right? Me and my brother. But when we got here, reality set in. It wasn't the way it was portrayed in my mind. We started sleeping in garages, sleeping in cars, sleeping on couches, here days, by somebody else's house tomorrow. It was just a lot. This was not paradise at all. Okay? But that was the reality I envisioned. But see, this is the thing about reality. Mind you, we're talking about God's reality, standing on God's reality. Okay? This is what your reality brings you. In me. It brings you nothing but dissatisfaction, disappointment, shame, misery, disgust, remorse, discouragement, fear, doubt, sadness, loneliness, regret, and even in some cases, death. Right? Proverbs 3 verse 5 states, trust in the Lord with all your heart and not lean on your own understanding. You see, there's a there are university studies that says in our lifetime we only use about 10% of our brain's capacity. 10%. Meaning the author knew what he was writing when he said, do not lean on your own understanding because you don't know much, really. You and I don't know much to stand on our own reality, our own understanding. Since COVID-19, suicide rate has spiked up. Why? Standing on their own reality. Since COVID-19, depression has gone through the roof. Why? Standing on their own reality. Divorce, up the sky. Why? Standing on their own reality. Because your whole life is based on your own reality, this is the result of it. Okay? It brings you nothing but pain and suffering. Your own reality. Okay? Like Judas, many of us back in 2019 had or still have the idea of how we want our future to be. How we want what happens next to be of our control. Right? We think we have it. If I buy this house, then my reality is going to change. The list goes on and on. Right? That's your reality. You think you can shape your future. Man plans, God laughs. We make so many things the priority of our lives, and evidently, these things have become almost stand on God's reality. Why? Let's go back to Moses. After Moses had taken the Israelites out of Egypt, out of slavery, they're in the desert. Right? They're in the desert. For the time being, they're happy. They've escaped slavery. Right? But only for a short period of time. After a while, they started complaining. Right? I just can't believe there's two brothers out here get us killed. We got no food, we got no water, we're going to die out here. At least back in Egypt, there was food and water, right? Can't believe I let you talk me into this and come in here, man. Right? This is the thought process of your own reality. Right? This is the thought process of your own. But Moses, who stood on God's reality, went and prayed, and food fell out the sky. Right? The Israelites, once again, came to another obstacle. I might have the sequence wrong. They came in front of the Red Sea with absolutely nowhere to go. Right? Or nowhere to turn to. Needless to say, the army is coming full force to kill. They're not having come to have peace talk. No, coming to kill. At this point, you can only imagine what was going through their heads or their minds. They were probably giving each other their last hugs because this is it. I mean, we cannot swim across, so hey, this is where we shall find the goodbyes. Right? And yet again, God showed them that was your reality. Mind you, your reality, this is what it does. It brings doubt, fear, dissatisfaction, discouragement. That's your reality. But when you stand on God's reality, God said, okay, I'm going to show you that's how you think. That's not how I think. And he parted the ways, the sea, and led them through. Right? This is what it means when you stand on God's reality. It brings nothing but success, happiness, encouragement, inspiration, hope, joy, and peace. Because how could it not? For as long as you can come into church and you've had the Bible, if that wasn't the case, then you should definitely throw that Bible away. Because sin and God does not mix. So, if anyone who had put their trust in God and God failed them, then God sinned. The whole Bible is a fake, is a sham. Right? But go through history, find one person that had put God as their priority, that had put their trust only in God, and they were in a worse state than they were before. You cannot find a soul. Not a soul. Right? Not a soul. So, this must hold true. This must hold true. That when you make God's reality your foundation, we can be for certain and undoubtedly sure we are standing on solid ground. Okay? But when we don't, we may not want to kill ourselves, but we will be one very miserable soul in this experience we call life. Which brings us to our second point. Go within. Earlier I mentioned 2020 is indeed a marvelous time to be around. Right? And I say this because it truly is, with no disrespect. When Judas had realized what he'd done, and a great sense of remorse had came upon him and consumed him, Judas had now went within. Okay? Realized. Keyword, realized. When Judas realized what he'd done, and he felt this great sense of remorse, then Judas had finally went within. When you realize something, it means you have become fully aware. Okay? Please, brother. When you realize something, you have become fully aware of what it is. You have now understood what it is clearly. Are you here with me? Okay. And in Judas' case, it had came clear. It had came clear to him that he had made a grave mistake. Okay? Judas had made a grave mistake. But we're speaking about 2019 and 2020. How does that correlate or corresponds with 2020? Right? How does it how does it respond? 2020 is a marvelous year. Right? Well, ever since the pandemic or plandemic, I call it, started, right? The one thing you were sure to hear was this: go inside. Go inside, go inside, go inside. As a matter of fact, it became a law for you to go inside and stay inside. Are you here? Now, that was a general term. Go inside. Right? But for us Christians, certain terms we hear, certain things that are said, because we are in the world but not of it, it means an entirely different thing to us as Christians. Okay? They're saying go inside. Go inside, go inside, go inside. Stay inside. Right? But for us Christians, going inside should mean an entirely different thing. Reason being is this. When they said to go inside your house or your home, inside was a symbol of you in your current state. Inside was a symbol of you in your current state. When they say to go inside, for us Christians, this is what it means. Look at your home. Your home being you, yourself, in your current state. In Matthew 22, verse 37, when Jesus was questioned, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." This is who you are. Your heart, your soul, and your mind. When they tell you to go inside, they tell you to attack these three things. They didn't mean to go in your house and quarantine. Nah. It means an entirely different things. If your third eye is open, spiritually. This is the first great commandment, greatest commandment. But how can we keep this commandment? Right? How can we love the Lord? That's a strong word, love. How can we love the Lord with all meaning the totality of what is to come next, all our hearts. How can you love the Lord with that heart you got? With so much hate in it. How can you love the Lord with so much greed, with so much pride? How can you love the Lord when you can't stand her or him? Whenever you see him, your skin crawl. How can you love and keep that commitment? How? They tell you to go inside. Come check that out. Second, how can we love the Lord with our soul, which is his? How can we love the Lord with our soul, with that disgusting lifestyle you're living, or I'm living? How? Basically, how? Have you ever heard the term, you're alive, but you're dead inside? The soul is not alive. You don't feed it right. The lifestyle you